Yo, what's going on everyone? Undead Brave here, and if you've been around this channel for a bit, you'll know that I love JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's the only thing that's actually given this channel any life, but never mind that. With the videos I have made on JoJo's, the only thing that I've really left out, kind of, is the openings of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And if you yourself are in the JoJo's fandom, you'll know that everyone loves the openings of JoJo's. It's actually one of those rare animes where every opening is completely fire. So that's what we are here today to do. We were going to be ranking every single JoJo's opening that has been made yet. So starting us off right now, we've got the OG, Sono no Sadame from Part 1. Now, Part 1 is definitely not the best part of JoJo's, but the opening, it's fantastic. It's definitely one of the best openings. The entire time it's going straight into S tier. You're listening to this and you're immediately hyped. The visuals, fantastic. This is definitely one you just keep listening to over and over again the entire time and not get tired of it ever. Now, just saying, this video's probably gonna get copyright stricken. I'm gonna go through with having the music playing in the background, so whatever. But Part 1's opening, you're getting all the energy that you're gonna need for this anime, just starting with this opening itself. From the very beginning of it showing the manga panels from future parts, all the way to the end when Jonathan and Dio clash right before everything all fades out. Definitely an S tier. Now, moving on to Part 2's opening, Bloody Stream. Part 2 definitely picks up JoJo's after Part 1, and it really hits home that this is fantastic anime. But I will say, the intro, while it was fire, not particularly one of my favorites, I would say. I love it. Joseph is definitely my favorite JoJo from when they were the main JoJo in the part. Towards the beginning-ish, it's kind of just vibey, I guess you could say. It's not like, you're not getting pumped up or anything, you're just kind of just it's very chill, which is still good. But from what Part 2 is, where it's almost like constant action every single episode, now listening to it back, it's definitely one you can listen to over and over again. Definitely not as much as Part 1. It just takes a little bit for the energy and the action of the intro to really take effect. The visuals themselves are also phenomenal as well, just like Part 1. I'm gonna put Bloody Stream in A tier. It's phenomenal. I love it. It's just the beginning. I feel like it's just a little too relaxed, if that makes sense. Now, I'm not expecting any of these to actually go down below B, to be honest. The only two on this that I will not be ranking are these two down here. The opening for the Rohan OVA, because I want to just focus on the main line of JoJo's, and the EDM version of Crazy Noisy Bizarre Town. I'm not a huge EDM fan, so I feel like that would be kind of skewing it, since it's a type of music that I don't like. But I think an A tier is definitely fine with this. It can arguably kind of definitely be made for it to be S tier as well. Alright, now we're getting to the meat and potatoes of the JoJo storyline. This is when things really hammer in that this is a good anime and it's fantastic, with Part 3. And Part 3 itself actually was separated into 2 seasons, so it got 2 separate openings, with the first one being Stand Proud, and the second one being End of the World. And just like Parts 1 and 2, the visuals, phenomenal. Absolutely amazing with the CGI work. It's incredible. Now, start with Stand Proud, but I think this one definitely does a really good job of making you feel what it wants you to make you feel. It really gives you the feeling of it's like a race against time to get to this certain objective, to do this certain thing, while there's a lot of weight just bearing down on you. It doesn't lack in the energy department. It also definitely has the replayability factor into it, but based off of personal bias, because this is also personal bias as well with my favorites. Everyone has their favorites, everyone has their least favorites. This also incorporates my favorites as well. This isn't a definite list, this is my list. I'm gonna put it at A. Not one of my favorite ones, to be honest, but I still love it nonetheless. Basically, all of that same stuff can basically be said for End of the World as well. But it definitely has a different feeling than it's a race against time sort of thing. Now it's just you're up against an insane enemy in the form of Dio. I wouldn't say visuals play a huge factor in determining where it is on the list, because then that obviously would put parts 1 to 3 up way higher than 4 and 5. But visuals are still phenomenal. It's great to listen to, and with personal bias, I'm putting that in S tier, you know? Now moving on to the part, you can see definitely has the most openings, as you can see down here. Part 4 does contain my favorite personal opening, but it is not Crazy Noisy Bizarre Town. Crazy Noisy Bizarre Town is a phenomenal opening. I love it so much. It's not my least favorite of the ones. I think it's great. It was definitely, honestly, probably my least favorite when I first listened to all of them. And as time went on, it slowly and surely became one of my more favorite ones to listen to. As part 4, while it does have the darkness that there is of murderers running around a small town, it definitely does have that slice of life feel going on with it. And I think that Crazy Noisy Bizarre Town does do a good job of giving you that slice of life feeling with its more poppy style and its high energy that it gives off. The visuals are definitely more regular anime with not CGI 3D effects going on, just your average anime 2D stuff, which is fine. I think I'm going to put Crazy Noisy Bizarre Town at A tier. Like, I think it's a good one, but definitely not the best one. I don't think it ranks at the same as Zunchi no Sadame and End of the World as well. So I think an A tier is pretty good for this one. Alright, now Chase. Definitely my least favorite opening, not gonna lie. Chase is my least favorite opening. I'm not a huge fan of like the way it sounds and everything. Like, it's still good. I personally just don't like it as much as the rest. But it definitely, I think, has the worst of the replayability. But it does do a good job of setting in a darker tone that is the dark shit that's going on in Morio. And with the very beginning of Kira coming into play, it was definitely my favorite villain. Not actually sure what about this song, like the sound of it, that I'm not a huge fan of. It's still good, and nothing is getting below B, and this is going straight into B for me. Oh, Great Days. Great Days is, my opinion, the best opening. So obviously you can get S tier, but I love it so much. I love it so much. Taking it as just like a song in general, I think it's fantastic. It's very high energy. You can't help but just like sing along with it and even like dance a little bit with it. It's just so good. The visuals are great because it's showing you basically like every character is against Yoshikage Kira. It really gives you like a great sense of like hope that things are gonna work out, which I think is probably what it was going for, considering it's definitely a more human part, with it more or less just being murders and not big vampire man coming to rule world or a dubstep Aztec god also coming to rule the world. I really love the feeling that it gives off, and it is definitely up at S tier. And right here, it has 3 different versions on this list. The one up here in S tier is the normal version. This one right down here is actually what's called the Units version, which is basically like, it's like all the past people who've done the intros coming together and making like a cover of one of the songs, which was what they did for Great Days. And the Units version is very good. It is very fire. Also gets S tier. Something I completely forgot to mention, which does play a factor in parts 3, 4, and 5, is when the main villain takes over the opening, which is just, oh my, it's always so amazing to see. And that definitely helped End of the World get into S tier. I forgot to mention that when Dio just like is casually just walking by Jotaro looking complete and utter badass. And we'll get into part 5 next, obviously. But in ways of villains taking over the openings, I think Kira's taking over of Great Days is definitely the best one. Like how in part 3 and part 5, the main villain only takes over like the end of it. Kira takes over like the entire thing, just completely rewinds it and throws it on its head. It's phenomenal. I love it. All versions of Great Days get an S tier from me. Moving on to the most recent part that has been animated, part 5, which was arguably probably the best part, I'd say. I don't know if it's my favorite. I can definitely say that it might. If you had all the fans vote, I think part 5 would probably come out on top, even if it doesn't have the best villain, which I think is Kira. Its openings are both very good, and the first one that we start with is Fighting Gold. I'm just gonna throw it right at A tier. While the like way it's making you feel is definitely good, and like I think it's probably what they're trying to go for, of kind of being like trapped by like an opposing force, and you're trying to like break free of it. I think it definitely does that. I just think that the replayability of it is definitely like less than the rest, except for Chase, obviously. I definitely don't think it's better than Traitor's Requiem, but I definitely think it's a solid A tier. And if there was an A+ tier, then I think that it would probably be B in that. speaking of Traitor's Requiem, that's the next one we got on the list, which actually has 3 different versions. You got the normal one, then you got the one where Diavolo takes over it, and then you got the one where Giorno retakes the opening back from Diavolo. Now for just the base one itself, I think it's definitely an S tier one. Just like Great Days and Sono no Sadame, you just can't help but sing along. It's great. Also as like a standalone song, it's also very good. Now for when Diavolo takes over the opening, I love when Diavolo takes over the opening. I think it's really good. As soon as he like, it looks like he's breaking the world, and just like the Italian, Latin. It just, oh, you're just like, oh my gosh, this guy's like an overpowering force. This guy's insane. Like, how can you actually beat this guy? And ways of sound and all that, it's not much different than the original opening. It's definitely a great villain taking over the opening. Like I said before, it's not my favorite, but I think it's also an S tier. And I'm just gonna throw it there now. The Giorno version is also an S tier. That is literally just, it's so good. Because that's the first we had of the protagonist retaking the opening from the villain who just took the opening and broke it. So like as before, it's the same as regular Traitor's Requiem. Great song, great visuals and everything. It's so good. And then it just turns it on his head. Everything gets reversed. Giorno retakes the opening with the power of Requiem. And you're just like, oh, this is so cool. But yes, this is the list right here. Lots of S tiers. Honestly, you could put them all in S tier if you really wanted to. I'd be completely fine with that. But I love every single opening. It's literally like when I'm working out, I literally listen to JoJo's. That's what I listen to. If you agree with it, or if you don't agree with it, comment down below and see what your opinions are with it. Which one was your guys' favorite? Put it in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. If you aren't subscribed already, you should do that. It's free, and you can undo it whenever. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and until next time.